Red flag laws create a preventative tool, a stopgap for loved ones, judges, and law enforcement. And while it is difficult to measure events that did not happen, evidence shows that these extreme risk protection orders can and do save lives. Thank you, Mr. President. Back in 2019, after we first introduced a version of this legislation alongside then State Representative Robert Wittenberg, who himself had introduced this earlier versions of extreme risk protection orders years before, I hosted a roundtable discussion on red flag laws in my district in Berkeley. This panel intentionally featured no legislators, but did include a woman named Mary Miller Strobel. Mary spoke about her brother, Ben. She said, quote, "My brother and I started the summer each year jumping into Lake Michigan on Memorial Day weekend. He was my hero," she said. He was a hero to a lot of other people too. Ben was a combat veteran. After he returned home, he was suffering. Ben had lost 30 pounds after his tour. Returning home, his father asked him about the weight loss, and Ben replied that he couldn't eat. He said, quote, "It's just too hard out there, Dad. It smells like death." Ben was seeking treatment at the local VA, but his family, including Mary, were worried. Mary said that she and her dad drove to every local gun store showing the owners pictures of Ben. They pleaded with the owners, "Please, please do not sell him a gun." Ben died by suicide, using a gun that he bought at a local gun store. Mary and her dad knew. They saw the warning signs. They knew that Ben needed help. He needed time. A red flag law could have bought them that time. A red flag law could have saved Ben's life. A few weeks ago in committee, we met Karen and Michael Kobelik, who Senator Baer previously spoke about. Karen said, quote, "I am a mother of triplets who should be turning 23 next week. Last year, my child Ruby shot and killed my son Bishop, then shot and killed their significant other, then shot and killed themselves." Karen went on to explain that she was not here to excuse Ruby's behavior, but she knows that it did not need to happen. Not like this. Karen learned that when Ruby turned 21, she bought a gun. This was after Karen had explained that Ruby had suffered from mental illness from a young age. She had a spectrum disorder, major depressive order, and a history of self-harming, among others. Karen said, quote, "I subscribe to the philosophy, know something, say something. So I called the police over and over and over again. And every single time I was told that they could not and they would not revoke Ruby's Second Amendment right to own a gun." She said through tears, "I am Ruby's mother. I knew something was seriously wrong and that this was a dangerous situation." Only a few weeks prior to this horrific event, Ruby was involuntarily committed to a mental health hospital. I called the police again and again, and I begged them to take Ruby's guns away. I was still denied. She said that their whole family tried to help Ruby. And within weeks of discharge, Ruby went to a gun store and bought another gun. Michael, the husband, said, "In my wildest imagination, I would never think that I'd be sitting here today in front of you talking about this. I am also a firearm owner and a CPL owner, and frankly, before all of this, I thought procedures were in place to have prevented this. Had the ERPO been in place, 3 people would be alive today," he told us. These are the lives that could have been saved with the legislation we have before us today. Extreme risk protection orders can and do save lives. 6 out of every 10 gun deaths in the United States are suicides, and of those who attempt suicide by firearm, 90% are successful, a significantly higher percentage than attempts made via any other method. In fact, a vast majority of those who survive a suicide attempt do not go on to die by a subsequent suicide, meaning that that moment and the result of that first attempt is critical in determining the ultimate outcome for an individual who is in crisis. Here in Michigan, approximately half of all suicides are by firearm, and in 2019, there were 742 suicides by firearm, including 31 children. Based on what we've learned from states like Indiana and Connecticut, implementation of similar laws in Michigan could have resulted in dozens of these victims still being alive today.